All right, boys, what's up?
Kanata and Agers. I really think they got it coming into day number 2.
Okay. Okay. Let's say, if you really believe that, if I gave you 60 seconds, could you tell me why that's possible?
Easily.
Okay.
Easy.
All right. Okay. All right. So listen, SVG. What's he got? Who do you think he's gonna pick?
Oh, Kanata and Agers. He's just said it.
Okay, my bad. I just
But
don't have
hold
to
on.
listen.
I don't know. Let's see what he has, right?
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay. All right, Viv. You got 60 seconds to make your case, and your time starts now.
If the 90-point gap lead isn't enough to
Kanata
convince you, then
and
I'll
Agers
just
in
have to
first
do
right
it
now, boys.
myself. Kanata, 16 FNCS Grand Finals appearances for him. But let's go ahead and take a look at how they did yesterday. I mean, 28 eliminations, the most out of any duo. Also, 257 placement points. Again, the most out of any duo. Their average placement yesterday was 6.5. Their worst game that they placed was a 12th place. And of course, if you're able to play so consistently, the foundation of that has to be a phenomenal Storm Surge strategy. And that's exactly what they had throughout day number 1. Their average damage at the point of zone number 5 was 900. Compared to the rest
Who do we have
of the
bets on?
lobby,
Who do we
which
have
was
bets on
only
winning?
650. So this duo is outperforming every other duo.
I got
in
Canada,
every single
Canada,
metric,
whatever the
and
fuck
not
his
to
name
mention
is.
the
Kanata?
factor that is on this duo.
Kanata, yeah.
Kanata and Agers.
I've been watching them since day one, dude.
Position. They've got it all coming into day number 2.
I don't know, bro.
It's
Day 1
over.
they might be
Okay,
winning, and
dude.
day 2 they could be
I'm
like.
impressed. You
My
basically
bets
went
are
out
on
by,
Clicks
like,
and
a
Epic,
millisecond.
so they're like
yeah,
20
maybe a
something.
little
They're
bit.
washed. They're washed.
They're like 20 something, but still,
Right?
day
That's a
2 if they
pretty
get like
strong
2 wins,
argument
they're
to
pretty
why
much
you
like
think Adrian
third,
Kanata could walk
easy,
away
guaranteed.
and win it all, though.
They're like
hold on.
first if they get two
I got
wins.
this.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
What exactly does he have?
I don't know what
Okay.
he has.
I guess.
Maybe he's gonna, counter my points somehow. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well,
I think,
SVG, you have 60
Clicks
seconds,
and Epic
and
are
it
gonna
starts now.
do
All
some.
right, look at the screen.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who this is. This is Booga. The
Booga's up there,
FNCS
though.
Three-time
Booga's
champion,
second.
the World
You
Cup
gotta watch
champion.
out for
His
him.
legacy speaks
Yeah, he's
for
second. I
himself.
think he might-
is
he
the
could.
greatest
He has a
player
good chance
on
to
this
take it.
region.
It
and I'm
depends
gonna
on
tell
how
you
his
why he's
duo
coming back
plays.
today. They played
Threats,
almost
yeah.
a perfect get day yesterday.
That's just doing good.
They had one mistake in game number 1.
Yeah, I
and they
know,
fixed
but
it after
when it
that
comes down
first
to it, when they're on
issue
this
when they
pressure.
didn't get enough surge and didn't
Yeah.
get these rotates early. This is game 2. This is when they fixed it. Now they're chilling. They're moving into these end games and guys, Booga knows how to play end games. They're playing height. They're playing mid ground. He's clutching as a solo. He has won in FNCS after finishing day 1 in first and second and third. What did he finish today or yesterday? He finished in second. So he's already done it from this position. Kanata, he's been in first after day
10
1.
seconds.
So, finished in 5th place. Can he do it today?
5.
I don't know. I'll take the legacy of this man right here.
Wow. He didn't even need all the time. He was done before the 60.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though, right? There's more to talk about when it comes to Kanata and Agers, maybe. I don't know. More good
Okay.
things, maybe? I don't know.
I feel like both of these arguments are very strong.
It's crazy how these
What do
guys
y'all
are commentating,
think?
but literally
Is it
have
Agers and Kanata?
no idea about
Is
what
it
Fortnite
Booga and
is.
Threats? Could it be someone
Dude,
like NPen or Byron?
Kanata's got it in
Y'all
the
let us know
bag.
what you guys think. Now, of course, not just
I
us
just
talking
feel like
about
they
all
need
about
to
Fortnite. We also
go
have
for the island.
Masters, Monster D-Face, and Jacob PR, and our mid-game analyst,
But-
the Kelly
Hey,
Link.
NPen and Bilo could take it because they're in third right now.
of finals. Let's get
Isn't Bucky still in there?
Crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
I don't even know.
intensity in the
Who's
room
that?
here. We get to talk
Who
about
the hell is that?
Is up on the running for taking
The shorty in the blue.
That's right, man. Speaking of hot,
The shorty
fire,
or the
here it is,
shotty?
Day number 2. We got 6
The
games
shorty in
coming
the
today.
blue,
I
dog.
think my favorite part of this is obviously
don't
talking
know.
about these day 2 teams because
I know the
some
guy in the middle,
duos,
though.
they will look to come alive here on day number 2.
Hold on,
Is
let's
there a
see.
duo that you
Let's
have
check what
eyes on?
the leaderboard is right now.
It's crazy.
And it's live in Brazil too. I think there's like only been one winner in Brazil, like for these past like 20 rounds. All right, Agers and Kanata in first with 384 points, with only one win. That's actually kind of surprising, but average 64 points. That's crazy. That's like getting a win every single round. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Booga and Threats in second right now. They're like 100 points below them, pretty much. That's crazy. So Agers and Kanata have a really big lead right now. Bylan and NPen in third. They're like not. They're pretty close to Booga and Threats, so they could be taking it over soon. Let's see. Acorn and Cold in 12th. That's kind of surprising. I thought that would be more up there. Day and his teammate, 16th. Clicks and Epic, 31st. 91 points. Okay, 92 points. Okay, so a win, 2 wins, 130. Plus 90. That's 220. That's basically putting them in like, yeah, that's like top 10.
Right.
2 wins. It's still possible for them. They still have it. All right, let's get back to this.
2-day competition, of course, for grand finals here at the FNCS stage. Makes it exciting for us, but more importantly for the competitors now. Who is going to make those adjustments?
Yeah, it's very, very important because those adjustments from day 1 to day 2 you're talking about, you had a chance to VOD review. And a lot of these players have given out a lot of their secrets in day number 1. So let's not waste any time. Let's see what game 1 has for us.
That's right.
Oh, it's starting already?
Early game contested spots, those southern locations. We're going to be paying close attention to the Thatch, Pamsto, Acorn, Cold, and additionals. I'll call
Cold
it
and
that.
Acorn
There's
actually
so many
got
players
my
down here
my
at the
duo drop
Frenzy
spot.
Fields. And then on the northern
crazy.
side,
Yeah.
there's a lot less going on, but those big rotates, right? The zones were really favoring some of the
We need
teams
to
up
watch
top.
you them,
You notice
Shimmy
that
and Milk. We're
on
planning
the
to do that.
standings, it was a bit of a struggle, but let's go ahead and jump in. So Defiable, Pam so fast, right? This is the fight that we were just hitting on here. It looks like they're going back to the original strat, 50-50.
Yeah, Defiable was playing mind games yesterday. He said he was going to switch up his spot,
I
but he
hate
didn't.
that game.
Not one bit. Same thing. Getting the high ground against Pamstu and Fetch. And already that's a big advantage with Pamstu going down, leaving Fatch all by himself. And this has been the trend with Defiable and Scissor. They just seemingly taking over, even though Fatch is doing a good job putting down some fire. He just has a sliver of HP.
Yep, going for the med kit now to try to bounce back here. Taking a look at the map, there's already teams looking to position all around. And Zuki's there in the distance. Fatch also gets a med kit off. Goes for the trade. The opening exchange there from the bush. He doesn't get the small
He has a pump. Wait.
advantage at that point.
He could.
He's chilling.
So tough start right now for Pamsto and Thatch as they already get wiped out of the competition. And their story concludes here for Game 7. So looks like the running might be out of the question here.
At least maybe for now, but it's all about that practice, getting the experience underneath your belt. You can see that Virgo and Penta already gone, so it's just a 1v1 against Broken and Teeks. And Teeks has actually been heating up. He's been trying to go ahead and put everything he's used to the test and already finds another elimination. So even though Penta is down, this is a huge moment for these guys. Here in Game 7 to start off the day, they are hitting the ground running, which is important.
That's how you're supposed to
That was
do
like
it.
back when like I was so
VOD
scared
review,
to fight.
Come in and exercise
Verizon
that branding
Yamzo.
strategy. It's really what we like to see.
Remember a video came out
it's a
talking
story
about
of
them
adjustment.
cheating.
Verizon Yamzo
not
have
sure.
a lot to
Delicious,
show
funny.
off, I think, today.
I
in
think they won
particular.
like
they didn't
3
quite
finals or
have
something.
the outstanding performances that we've seen throughout the qualifiers, partly because somehow they've kind of stood away from the Rift Islands,
Acorn
right?
didn't
Not really
surge.
looking to take the risk to go ahead and secure those.
I like what Acorn was thinking there for a second. Instead of 3 teams here, that does leave that house south of Frenzy open. So Acorn possibly toying with the idea of cutting off somebody's loot path. Let them rotate into him, and there'll be some free shots. That's a strategy we've already seen on the day on the EU side of things, and that's why we talk about the VOD review. Sometimes it's not only the games that you're playing in on NA, you just watch FNCS as a whole and try to incorporate little things here and there. As you already see the flag being captured at Frenzy Fields, and because of that, that's when they're going to know that there's nobody in the direct vicinity of Frenzy Fields anymore.
That's right, which all of you can do, by the way, from home. You can tune into the game, load into the Legends Landing, play and watch at the same time, and pretty much have a good time here, which is what this is all about, this big celebration of professional players. But here we have Byla and NPen. I think the excellent game close yesterday, picking up a little victory, putting themselves in a dominant position here within the top 10. And then, of course, the awesome interview to really get that insight onto the mentality
Milk actually
of
killed
where
you,
they're trying
money.
to take
I remember
this
that.
day number 2 performance. What's going to be most important is, of course, looking at those big teams that played very, very well yesterday and seeing if they can replicate that here in
G-Money's
day number
going
2.
down
But
this game. Yeah.
Dawson, this guy's been active consistently alongside Day. We've seen a lot come out of him.
Yeah, you can see switching up their
Only
game
7
plan
builds,
just
though.
a
Not
little
good.
bit. Typically, that fight would go down over towards Steamy Springs.
Yeah.
But they kind of went ahead and moved it around. You see the big build fight, which kind of gives Bugha and Threats a little bit more of a luxury, more space to work with, more loot to kind of gobble up over towards Steamy Springs, kind of bolster their game plan. That's something that we talked about, is they heated up at the right moment. The last 2 games on the day, and then particularly the game 6 yesterday, Bugha, the impact he had as a solo. So even though Threats might be thinking, sorry, I made you go through that, at the same time, that's a whole boast of confidence for someone like Threats.
Yeah, the catch is, though, Bugha and Threats have to play perfect. Fortnite, Aegis, and Kanata almost have to trip up, right, in order for things to come together.
Hold on, we're back. I'm gonna run back.
Win this entire
Crack.
tournament this weekend.
Yeah,
Like
I think
said,
it's
if
over
there's
for
a person that I'm
Dawson.
really rooting for that I think deserves so much more respect and attention from the community, it's actually Man City's Threats. He's been on the team for a long time. He's put in the work. He shows up when it matters during qualifier days, and he's a man who tries to take advantage of the opportunity. Bugha is here, though, putting up the hits, putting up the numbers, actually contributing the most damage in that battle there. And this is a great way to kick it off. Again, they need these points.
Yeah, and that's been their game plan. Every single game we've seen them so far. They quickly loot up. They have
My bad, chat.
they just rotate on over towards Steamy Springs, and that's how they either get their early eliminations, but overall, that's how they get their early game Storm Surge, which allows them the flexibility to rotate pretty freely towards the slow side of the zone. And you kind of check out the leaderboard. We talk about our top 5, Poyo and Sphinx, who already have their global championship spot secured. They're sitting nicely at the top of the leaderboard. So even though they're playing for money, they're playing for bragging rights, everybody else, that opens a spot at that bottom of the leaderboard, the bottom of that top 10.
This is great. If you're outside the top 10, you are hoping that, yeah, if there's anyone who's going to rocket past you, it's someone who has a spot already to the global finals. Want to see how that's going to play out, but
Copenhagen.
let's take a look here. We're tuned in with Aviv and Skittles.
Wonder
Skittles
why they
finally
made it in
back on
Copenhagen.
brand. I love that he's changed his name to Skittles. Keep it like that.
This is interesting here because of even Skittles, I feel like this is business as usual. They land towards Brutal Bastion. They don't always go for the vault, and they rotate out. But yesterday, when we were watching Shore and Zypha, they were going over towards Shattered Slabs and having an early skirmish over there almost all day long. So you're already seeing the switch-ups coming out of players, any tricks they had in their back pocket, and then a new game plan to try to burst up that leaderboard.
Yeah, we've seen them fight, you know, alongside the heads of Macwood and Blake and just a couple of others, so this is definitely different. But this is not different from Mira and Cooper, though. They've been playing this outer edge consistently round after round. This is where they go down to the shore
I don't know,
to pick up
chat.
the metal, cap off on other additional materials. Typically, it's Miro down low.
I
Cooper
kind
up
of feel like
top to place the
switching.
high
I don't
ground.
know. I kind of feel like
But this
switching
time
back
around,
to
there's not a
Twitch.
team here. Remember, yesterday there was always a team kind of rotating south, but it seems like the adjustments might be coming around to,
I think if I'm
play
uploading
against them.
videos on
So,
YouTube
it is
and
gonna be
streaming on
a
Twitch,
little bit of,
it would be more beneficial
I would say, an adjusting
than
game for
streaming on
game
YouTube
number
and
7
uploading
here.
videos on
Yeah,
YouTube,
just kind of
so.
piecing together from the feed to little
Expect
things we've
Twitch,
seen so far. Lonely
expect me
Labs,
to
it
be
almost
active
looks
on
like a
Twitch
lot of those
again.
players either rotated out or got taken down early. You see Pars, Ibaka, 3 eliminations in the feed. They got Macwood, and in theory, Macwood lands over towards Lonely Labs, so they only got their early.
Why
surge.
doesn't
They're
your
taking out
stream
the
say
teams
V-Buck
that
give it
would
away?
be a threat in their path towards
so I
the
can
zone,
pull in all the
making it
kids
that
who want
much
V-Bucks
easier.
and would just
For another
watch.
team that had a great finish on the day. They even had one of our game victories, Bolts and Thoric, and you're seeing that Monster D-Face loadout, the Havoc with the Mammoth pistol, and they're already putting it to use, gathering up that surge.
That was pretty impressive, as Thoric is just watching off in the distance here, protecting Bolts.
Sorry about
Bolts
that
bringing in
surge.
the attention.
Couldn't get
Thoric
that
landing
kill,
on the
though.
shots. Had he connected right there, that'd have really been all he needed to get comfortable. But you have to assume now he has to continue to hunt for damage. Things slowing down in the lobby right now, but not on the eastern side or the western side. We have Aiden and Hound continuing the fight, so they already picked up one from this duo. They're
Why
not
does he
done
look
yet.
like that, bro?
When I thought Zone was going to pull this way, it actually pulls the opposite, depending on how much Aiden and Hound might have to start thinking about plan B once they figure out that rotate. But for now, they want to finish this elimination on OMG Me Too. They already have him half health. Aiden's going to drop down. Almost hitting that Mammoth with the hip fire, but that's neither here nor there. Cleans it up pretty easily with the Sharp Tooth. You see that's their second elimination of the day. And a huge loadout kind of increase here now that they have that heavy breacher. That's something that we saw throughout yesterday, particularly in the end games, that causes so much destruction and chaos.
Breacher on high ground, Breacher on low ground, it didn't matter. It's very, very good, very useful to have gives you the advantage in most instances. That's a massive upgrade. Peter Bottom Larson, though, on the push here, using the mud to slide on through. Tries to get the B-hop into the box, doesn't quite hit it, but the cutoff is there.
Peter Bot's
Coming
so
into the third
trash.
party now, so he doesn't
Yeah, Peter
play
Bot is
safe.
washes
It's
it all
on
right now.
two angles, so it's not going to be an easy free pickup, and this is why he's going to back off, play a little defensively, already costing him half of his metal material here, so they really do need the refresh. This is probably going to be their home for the next zone as well.
On that cash,
Yeah,
though.
you see why they're kind of risking all that metal, trying to push that team off. They're going to get it right back with that loot cache, especially since you see not only on screen but in the minimap as
Epic
well.
Games
the forward
graphics
disengage,
are
it's not worth the
outstanding.
risk. They're probably going to hover back in that direction
Epic and
when they
Clicks,
leave to kind
so
of gather up
just got
whatever
their cash
scraps
Right.
are left
Stacker
behind. Same
now.
thing, Clicks and Epic. Well, for them, they need a
I think the only reason they're
spectacular
not doing good is 'cause
performance on
Epic
the
is, like,
day.
sick
They
as
hit
hell,
some
like, so sick.
roadblocks throughout the course of this
Yeah, I
games
noticed
yesterday,
that.
and I think that's enough.
Yeah, he was throwing up
fuel to
between
the fire,
finals games.
some would say,
We'll
to
do a
kind of get
cash
things
go.
going early here, because you see they're already taking that Kanata Hill to try to get their surge.
This is looking better for them.
It is.
I would say this is looking a lot better. Clicks and Epic will perform, oh no, pretty big today. They have a chance. I don't want to count them out just yet. It's way too early in the day. As great as any team could have had a 6-game run yesterday, shoes can turn, right? You can switch shoes with anyone. Your journey all of a sudden can take a flip upside down.
We've seen it so many times before. Doesn't matter how good you do on day one. You have to be able to replicate it on day two, or at least stay close as can be. Because even though Kanata now has such a massive lead, someone like
Honestly,
Casters
Kanata
and
and
cross
Aegis
the path,
get,
take
like,
it down.
200
That
more
opens up the
points
window of
drops.
opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Not even
Those
200.
players.
It's like even like
Zooming by
150 and
on
I'm
pixels, like,
pretty much
huh?
wraps.
What was that?
Should be.
Yeah, that's all they need. Lucky, unless like
Price Chubbs. This is another
what you wanna
team that
call
we
it,
talked
Bugha
about.
and Threats get like 200.
Maybe not enough for how well
Bugha
they're
and Threats
performing,
need,
not
like,
just
300
this
for
FNCS,
this
but
one,
previous
pretty much.
FNCSs as well.
Basically.
They've been one of those
It's-
teams that
it's
showed
Aegis
that
and
they have the
Kanata cannot
potential
mess up
to pick up
today.
big VRs.
Right.
They've already done it once. They just, again, need to be able to replicate it, which isn't necessarily the easiest things when we have the zones that we had yesterday with those far pulls, and they land on the edge. They land all the way on the north side. So even though this game might seem easy for them, we still have 5 more where the zones can go the opposite direction.
I like how we almost never see a team double peek the same angle. Bryce is playing super safe. He's like, all right, I already popped my head out. I'm just going to ramp this down. Like, no need for anyone to size me up, line me up. Reet and Ritual doing the same. Very risky of Reet to overextend his body upwards like that, but it's the name of the game right now. Ooh, the blind fire through the bush. Almost hit it, but look at that. In a moment's notice, Reet gets clipped immediately.
Kind of see already getting ready. He has the slurp pants down below. Instead of using the heals he has, this makes it for a little bit of an easy heal up. Get back to the top. Continue to find your surge. That gives you a little boost of confidence. I know you kind of just spoke about not double peeking. Somebody in their position
What are you
might
doing
be
with
able
this
to
guy,
double
bro?
peek, and here we have
So
Rift
confused.
Island, and the only team in sight cannot
I don't
Aegis.
know.
Wow. No shot, they go for it, right? It's a
I should
big
make a
risk.
video on
over.
Fortnite on max graphics.
You have
That'd
to
be
think
looking
about it,
cool.
like, do they need to
That'd
take
be
the risk?
horrible.
They really don't.
What do you mean?
They don't have to do anything
You'd be lagging.
out of the ordinary, anything
No, I won't, bro.
exceptional. They just have to stay alive,
I have
essentially,
a good
right
PC.
now.
I have a good PC.
Very, very different position
Your
than
frames
other
would take shit.
players
Bro,
in
what
the
are they
map.
doing? They're throwing.
My
Look,
frames,
let's
I feel like I'd had
distance
60
ourselves a bit
FPS
here.
if
Maybe
I
it's
was
not
like
even
on
worth
max
being so
graphics.
close as they
Not
play
good.
more passively and get into a lower ground position here.
That's what my
You
Xbox
see the
runs.
first couple teams, Suscript and Flutto, over towards the top of Rift Island. They're contested by one other team. Below them, still Kanata and Agers. You saw that pan view, Clicks and Epic Well, not too far behind. You can see Rokane and Vert, instead of contesting the actual capture point, they're just content with that elevation because they
Shorter below
need the
is crazy.
surge.
Surge is much more important right now when you're only
Look at the sky, bro.
above.
This shit's trippy.
Spot to be in is around 200 or 300. Subscript and Flutto, they're gonna have to fight though. 10 above, so they'll either be looking for some quick picks, and if they don't see anything, well, the next target is the team up top.
And you can see what they did here. Since they know they can't get the house that's on top of Rift Island, next best thing, just build towards the end. Make sure you cover your tops, and then you just kind of peek exactly like how
wasting
they're doing.
mats.
But there's less view for Subscript and Flutto because now they only get this one angle compared to being able to see all across the map. But with this elevation, you have to be able to make shots like this count.
And you got someone sitting out in the open right there, willing to exchange with you. I think both sides are pretty desperate right now. Meanwhile, on the other side, Paper and Muzz here, just outside
Chilling
the
on Surge.
compound.
Zerk
Also
kills
close to
though,
the
yeah.
Rift Island, not looking up, not doing anything too dangerous here. They have nothing to worry about. Noxy, on the other hand, and D-Roller. 3 eliminations. They're looking to just turn online here. They want points. They want to take battles, not because they need to, but because they want the additional elimination points here.
That's what's so important, especially depending on how you finished or where you even finished on that leaderboard in day 1. You don't have to make all the bold moves to gather all those points and kind of catch up here in the first. You just have to be able to make strides, progression throughout each and every game. Azuka just mammoth tagged up outside of zone. Luckily for them, they don't have to worry about Surge, so they can kind of focus on how they're going to get in zone, especially now that they know there's a few teams in front of them.
I was more curious as to why he didn't pop the minis there. He had the team behind him, and instead opts to just let the Slurp Juice do its thing. Could have been very, very risky, but we are only in the 1 tick, so things are going to work itself out here. Possess and Zukos have a bit of a run to make. Smite on the heels, D-Roller right behind him. Let's jump on over to the Mega City here, where we tune in with Batman, Booga, and Rapid. This wasn't really working for them playing this high ground yesterday, but it seems like things are going a little bit better. Could be the zone potentially playing into their favor right now.
They have the luxury of being able to split up as well. They probably saw their counterparts that also land towards Mega City begin to rotate out. His job piece, and God did 1 below the damage threshold. For them, it can't be too much of a worry, but they need to start getting proactive instead of just out healing it, because they're going to put themselves in a position later on in the game where they need a refresh. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's just Storm Surge really just kind of eating them up right now, out of minis. Job piece just has to really think about something here, but he's just content. He thinks out healing it is going to be the play, but there's shots coming in from Baka and Parts as well. They don't want to let this go easy.
He just
I
needs
think
a
they're dying
single
here.
tag, not anymore.
They
I think
need
they add
tags.
Storm Surge to ranked gameplay.
Need some Surge or else they're it's not going to be looking good for
Possibly
them.
look towards the island in the distance right now. Nothing.
Yes.
No.
They need to add the fucking. Yeah, add that shit to
Both
ranked.
sides. We haven't seen a single team hit a long-range mammoth on NA today.
Yep. I think a lot of players are adapting, realizing when to peak, when not to peak. But I think eventually somebody will slip up, as God did, to still 229 below that damage threshold. Turned off momentarily, but if he doesn't figure out what his plan is going to be, he's just falling ever increasingly below that damage threshold. There's definitely not enough on that med mist to out heal it.
There it is. The damage starts to pick back up. We're sitting diminished here on the outskirts of the zone. It's going to be a super long rotate. The zone's actually started to head east and somewhat north, so most of the lobby did not pull the zone here at all. Zone has doubled down to the east here. A very common trend we're seeing right now is the zones pull extremely far. You have to almost expect them at this point to continue to drag their way out.
Easy kill there.
Sid and Diminish end up rolling up on
Not
someone.
really
It
that
seems
much
like
above,
Gilux
though.
is going to be the victim of choice. Little 100 above the Surge. Okay, so they have something to bounce back into, something to work with right now. That's the least of their worries. As we said, they are going to have to move here shortly.
Yeah, something to start to build that confidence. As we tune in to Rise and Bylod just trading shots, more than half their shield being depleted. Stacky and Redux, here's this action. They want a third party.
And
And down goes
Mylon's about to
Enven.
go down.
Bylod stuck by himself.
Dead.
Almost
Damn.
gets the slurp off in time, but that's Caskers and Revive. Just go ahead and clean that one up, making it easier for both of these teams to try to survive. And as soon as that happens, you see Stacky and Redux. They said, I'm time to rotate. I don't want to get stuck, as all the other teams already have started their rotation.
Man, Independent Violet had all that momentum. And all of a sudden, now that puts them a big gate behind. They didn't really earn much here, as we didn't really get to the placement points just yet. Very tough situation to be in here.
Yeah, with how close the leaderboard is, going down early, even in a single game at this stage,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily, you can't count yourself out, but then that just puts pressure on the big games towards the end of the day, where it's basically all or
They just
nothing.
need
If
Yeah.
you're not Kanata and
33
Aegis, you
teams
don't
right
have
now,
room
still.
right now to make any mistakes.
And Kanata and Agers, I think they have like maybe a 1.5 game cushion. We'll just kind of round up to 2s. You see the feed. Aiden and Hound have just been sent back to the lobby. You mean Epicwell sharing a piece of that pie. Rokane and Vert get a knock. It was the last shot, but it was the one that mattered towards the backside of zone. They get the siphon, and they get 4 points to their total.
Talking about Booga and Threats, the direct competitors right now, the team chasing on the heels of Not an Agers. They're big vibing here. They actually pull somewhat of a great zone. It's coming directly
on
behind
Surge.
them. There's not a team near them.
Decent on
They got the
mats.
first to make the ground rotate here.
And have good heals. Yeah.
It's Batman, Booga, and Rapid in the
They
distance.
could get like
They're
top
not
5
even
here if they
looking
play it
There
out
is.
correctly.
Comes a little too late. Threats is way quick to put the balls down. He's like, no, nope.
They get keyed by Rapid
Take any damage.
and
we don't
Batman
need to
Booga
right
though.
now.
No, they're not.
Yeah, in theory, Booga and Threats, it almost feels like they're just trying to get in, give themselves a nook and a cranny. But when the zone begins to open up, spread out, they're the team that typically goes to that slower side, so that way less and less teams that they have to deal with. And I would hope everybody else does that same thing.
There's a lot of brick here. I'm wondering if they're trying to get to those reservoirs and get their material count back. It's looking pretty tough. Epic Whales out, Plixes by himself, and now completely finished there
28
by
yeah.
Bolts and Thorix. The quick jump into the box sets them up for success right now.
Agers is down in the feed.
Uh-oh.
Haven't seen him get taken out just yet, so you got to imagine Kanata fighting for not only his life, but theirs as well. Quick rotation from Bolt and Thoric. They don't want to be stuck
Maybe
on that
Kanata
edge of
dies
the zone.
soon,
And
early.
just as we tune in, Kanata again does do a good job saving the day. The only thing that really worries me is their materials
That's-
and the lack of medium ammo. So for Kanata and Agers, it's almost imperative if they want to keep themselves going to get a refresh because they're even below the damage threshold. This isn't a position we've seen them in yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say, listen, you need to add another big problem to their list. Is the fact they absolutely have to fight right now. And Agers is
This is not a good zone to
obviously
be fighting
coming off
at.
that knock here, just getting picked up. So they lost time just off of that. 30 seconds now until the surge turns on. So tags, action, everything does matter here.
That was just enough. They were 22 below. They hit for 26. So in the back of their minds, even though they have the comfortability to rotate, they know that Storm Surge is still going to be there.
Nope, they're not safe at all. Nice little find here to refresh on some of the building material. But it's going to be tough. Here's Pars and Vaca performing the best in the lobby so far. Big 5 eliminations here. Jumping their way back up into the conversation right now. Trying to earn some big money here.
This zone's tough because everybody is already just stuck like glue next to one another, box to box. Some players on top of others. They're just jam-packed like a can of sardines. So you literally have to wait for some players to rotate before you can make your own, which obviously gives those players who
43
rotate
previous
first a
players
little bit of
alive
advantage
still.
to go to
That's
that open
crazy.
space that does open up momentarily.
Take a look at the big rotate right now. Everyone's starting to move in and collapse in the new zone.
Nice shots by Kanata, just trying to raise the stakes when it comes to that
They need
Storm
to kill
Surge.
here.
Something they don't have to worry about as we continue to move into these later zones. And that's exactly why. It took only 2 steps to try to get to zone and already became a target. Half shield gone for almost both of these players.
Well, we're in the end game now. This is it. Things are gonna get real dire here. Talk about the medium ammo they need, the material as well. This box fight down low might be the best decision for them here to force the fight, but it's Rise, it's Yamzo, it's Cold, who's also next door. These are tough teams. They don't know, of course, who they're asking to battle with just yet, but there's no easy picks right now on the NA roster. Sphinx falls in the feed there. That's a top 4 team. The Boyo's by himself. Rocate
When'd you send this,
on the
bro?
other side here, trying to fight up against Rising Yamzo. Rising Yamzo
Sent that like
really
an hour
need a big game
ago.
here. They need to get back up into
Oh,
this
my second
conversation
monitor.
as a team who can race to first place.
It looked like they were hunting one team, then they become the hunted by Reet and Ritual. A lot of these teams on the outer edge suffering through the lack of Storm Surge. It's just forcing these fights. Reet goes down. Ritual is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They get sent back to the lobby. Suscript's even going down. This is big. Acorn finds an elimination as well. Baka gets dropped. This is looking like the Wild Wild West.
Pars is now solo here to play this one out by himself here on the high ground. We have Edgy and Duke there playing alongside one another, setting up things for them. Pars has just got to hustle his way on out of here, tries to get to the front. I like this play. It was definitely a desperate one, but it was the best decision for him to go ahead and get a move on it, as now we're finally jumping into that top 15 situation here.
They've woken up from their slumber of day 1. Edgy and Trey 5 have the high ground, but you have to watch out. There's so many threats right below, including Miro and Cooper, who just take down
Peter Rod just got
That's
shit
a
on.
big elimination, but they're not
Peter
going
Rod.
to be able to get the siphon, the resources, so they have to keep moving forward. For Miro and Cooper, though, this is a good job just staying ahead of the game. You don't want to fall back to the ultimate backside of the zone.
Yeah, they have that big breacher in hand. Booga's in the end game, okay. Putting up the numbers right now. Tries to cut off Clarity, but the shot comes from behind their Tart.
Oh, why would he do that?
Threats in the process. Bugha has to hold this one out. The zone's right behind them. Just in time for the Saber to come through.
He got so lucky with that.
But no, wasn't quick enough to get to the material there. He gets taken out here. Pars now solo targeted. The zone bounces north.
Damn.
He falls
What?
as well. Iamzo and Rise are one of the few that are left alive here as a duo that can still do something.
Yep, everybody's dropping like flies. Meanwhile, Yamzo and Rise are just doing the best that they can to stagger
Honestly,
themselves back. The shots
think
are continuing to
Yamzo and
fire.
Rise are
Yamzo's
winning this
not
round
getting
low-key.
greedy, but he drops at the perfect
Yeah.
time. Down goes Flutto, but down goes Rise as well. But Yamzo did enough to find that med miss. Now he has a little bit more time as a luxury.
Let's see it. He's going to head sit here. Buys him a little bit of an opportunity right now. Top 5 is just an elimination away. But Cooper's in his zone.
I think he
No,
started
both
his
of us
spray
know
too early.
That one another on the other
Yeah.
side. Of course, those visual
Wait,
sound
low-key
effects start to
Cooper,
give away that
he has
information,
double
but Yamzo's
numbers,
out.
so
He has to make his way. He
honestly,
has to go
he might
for
be
the mad
winning
dash
kill
here.
off.
Does start to run out a little bit of stamina.
No.
180 on the player
So
behind
close.
him.
Wow.
Gets 2 great tags,
It is, yeah, I
but
think
not enough
he-
to
yeah.
stay in the game. Meanwhile, Cooper's still alive, by the way. With the
Cooper's
med miss
probably gonna
there.
get, like,
He's
second.
on to his last one. This is desperate opportunities now. Clarity G is hurt up top, but so are the 2 players below. All he has to do is hit a massive tag, but no, the low ground
Paper
comes
and Muzz
out.
win.
It's Paper, it's Muzz
Damn.
from nowhere injecting themselves into the conversation.
Almost didn't see them except for in the beginning of the game, but that's what you go ahead and call one of them silent plays. You go through unnoticed, almost unscathed. You battle through so much adversity and you start the day off hot, and this is exactly what you want to see. We saw
We're
that
making a
EU
poll.
with Swizzy, Asian FNCS champion, EU FNCS champion. Muzz wants to do that same thing here.
Well, I am very curious about what happened between Edgy and Duke, who had the high ground, because for Muzz and Paper to take the win, something ridiculous must have exchanged between Clarity G and the other teams that were holding high.
Yeah, and right now it's just a huge chance for anybody to try to gather as many points as possible, including Paper and Muzz. With the first game of the day done, let's take a look at that leaderboard.
Thank you guys so much. As I kind of joked about picking up the pieces from yesterday, looks like NA took that seriously. They're like, hey, yesterday it was chaotic, we were aggressive, we're bringing that in. Game number 7 on day number 2 was the same. It is like we just picked up exactly where we left off yesterday. Muzz and Paper will find themselves the victory royale in this moment. Chaos.
All right.
One word.
Middle,
it's
middle.
chaos.
Dude, I don't know what was even going on. So many teams were shambles. So many teams were playing for height when they had nothing to play for. It's like, I have no mats. Let me just go up to height. Then we see, it was Yamzo and Cooper just staring at each other with med miss. Like, who's got the last med miss, bro? I got you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely crazy stuff. There were a couple teams that I had my eye on throughout that game, and one of them honestly wasn't Paper and Muzz, but obviously they proved me wrong in that sense, just dominated on the low ground, and this duo just happened to find a spot down there that they felt like they were comfortable enough to go ahead, post up, found their refresh necessary, but it's going to be about the natural terrain, realizing that there's going to be a hill right there. They build up, they get some early damage on the Clarity G, and he, you know what, he made a good run at it here, almost clutched up in that 1v2 situation, but ultimately Paper and Muzz come out on top.
Yeah, I think for me the storyline is with Agers and Kanata falling kind of early there. This is going to create a moment for the rest of the lobby to try and close that 90-point gap. Let's take a look at our standings together and kind of see what game number 7 created and or left for us. Agers and Kanata there. That gap is close, but not by nearly enough. Like 60 points is still quite a bit of a lead. Bugha and Threats, Agers and Kanata, they're still holding it down.
All right, still Agers and Kanata in first by over 60, bro. That's crazy. Bugha and Threat second. Oh, and they're gaining. I don't know. I don't think Agers and Kanata did too good in this first round. Peterbot and Larson 10th, Batman, Bugha, and Rapid 9th. Honestly, I feel like this is pretty much accurate of how, like, the finals is going to be, like, how the winners and everything. This is pretty much, like, accurate in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is, like, top 10 for who's going to win NA.
Kind of handle, but yeah, it was actually the worst placing game we've seen so far out of them throughout these grand finals.
That's okay. 5 more games to go, right? This is just one game. We started the day. It's fine. We have 5 where we can make it up. Bugha and Threats there as well. Still holding on to those, that second place. Bugha by himself in those moments, just trying to clutch up those handful of little points. Again, it's just like these little things that will add up in the end.
I gotta say, Bugha is creative with some of these rotations that he makes. I just told you how that 6-zone rotation was so hard, but no, Bugha actually made it easy for him and Threads. They dipped down into the zone, ended up tanking a lot of it, but they had the meds to kind of back it up, found themselves on kind of like the dead side of it, which was able to actually get him into this end game, and that's why he closed that gap by about 30 points towards first place.
Yeah, and those are the things that I saw from them consistently. Bugha and Threats are regular endgame players. They fixed all those early to mid-game mistakes, and just getting, you know, a few more points that last Elim before he goes down, but that could be huge when we're looking at this leaderboard at the end of the day.
And don't forget, listen, there's already 5 duos that are still playing today that already have spots in the Global Championships. We could end the day looking not at a top 10 to continue on to the Global Championships. We could be looking at something like a top 15, a couple of names that immediately sent out to me, Cooper and Miro, right? These guys are good to go. Now they're just trying to play for the active champions and money. And for the duel, we saw Cooper there. I mean, he was med-missing there, facing off 1v1, the ultimate test of the mist. But again, placing high will just continue to help them stay ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Ayamzo and Rise also, you talk about that med miss. On the other side of that was, of course, Ayamzo and Rise. And, you know, shout out to SBG here because he was like, oh, look at this. This zone is going to be right in the backyard of Ayamzo and Rise. And that zone allowed them to go ahead and pick up some early eliminations throughout some of these moving zones. But also, it's like a 60-point game for them, so huge when it comes down to the race towards first.
And this is much more what I'm used to seeing from these two. Playing comfortable, playing together, knowing how they want their end game to go, playing to that script as they're probably learning it. And again, just a little bit of extra points here from Yamzo, playing that med miss, just being able to stay alive, playing whatever you're given to maximize the points in every single match.
Their last game on day number 1 was the 5th place, and I was looking at that and I was like, you know what? Maybe they figured something out. They get into the top 5 again. Game number 7 could end up being very, very close towards the end of the day.
Yeah, I think as we kind of look at this top 10, the thing that's kind of standing out to me personally is these objective points, right? Aegis and Kanata, and then Eams and Rise. Only one of 2 duos in the top 10 currently. They have the 15 points for Rift Island, which means our top 10 aren't necessarily prioritizing objectives like the week we saw Eams and Rise get it game after game, and they just had surmounted this incredible lead.
Well, I think what it comes down to is only so many teams can play for those vaults, and we get to see they get the vault. When it comes their way, they play so much better. When they're able to get those caches, they are so much more consistent because that's what they've trained themselves to do. They play for the cache, play for the vault. Then you're used to playing with a ton of slurps, which makes the game so much different than playing without really anything.
You know, you're talking about those objective plans. I mean, the objective for a lot of these duos is going to be global. Let's not forget, you know, right now we have 2 duos in the top 10 spots. Still,
not gonna lie, San Francisco does not matter that much.
Throughout today, we got to make sure that we keep
only
an
thing
eye
that
on
matters, like,
yeah, let's do that right now. We have a look at our top 20.
Yeah,
top 20 is that November?
Keep a very close eye.
I think so.
Another duo that already have their spots, and Thorn and Bolts as well. So this is going to be a back and forth until the very final game, until it all wraps up. But as of right now, that last game for Muzz and Paper, look at this, up 6 places. Now they are in the running. Again, momentum, we have to keep that moving.
They put themselves in contention yesterday, and that's really all you need to do on day 1.
Yeah.
You need to be close enough to strike when you're trying to grab that global champion spot. And I mean, Muzz has all the accolades, arguably one of the best mechanical players, but him and Paper seem to figure it out here on day number 2. I really expect them to continue this.
Yeah, no big jumps for any teams just yet, so we'll have to see if they can turn it around in game number 8.
For sure. Bolts and Thoric there moving down 4 places. So this competition is incredibly close. Remember, 50 of the best duos from NA came through 3 weeks, fought tooth and nail, and now they're looking to say grand finals. Let's compete. 6 games yesterday, 6 games today. Though game 7 was like a continuation, I still feel like it's a little bit of a feeler game.
Definitely is, but someone that was feeling themselves was Pars and Baka, being able to get just a few more points, having another good game, and that's what they need to continue to chain together.
And listen, as we go into game number 8, will the gap close even more between first and second place? I don't know.
Vivid trying to do my job. You know what, Vivid? Now we're going to get ready to go to game number 8. That's right, Vivid. Stay over there. Anyway, this is game number 8 of the FNCS. Let's jump back into
What is
it.
he saying, bro?
It's only been one game so far today, but Monster, this one is looking like it's setting up to be a photo finish.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, shout out to Muzz one more time, man, picking up that big W. I'm always rooting for the kid. He's now one step closer, but so are many others, right? This is a battle for top 10. Outside of course, the story that's happening is unfolding to Age and Kanata. 60-point difference now as Booga has managed to close that gap a little bit.
Yeah, all that confidence is slowly but surely beginning to fade, and he's going to have to step up into that same type of intensity that they were playing with yesterday. But let's not forget, a lot of these other teams are also beginning to heat up, and this is what we were talking about. Day 2 is a whole different beast.
That's right. Paper was there as well. Listen, Paper had a lot of things to say online about the teams that were next door to him, and he's already putting up, I would say that the flex. He's putting the gameplay where his trash talk was, so we love to see it
Who do you
here.
think's winning this,
Let's
this
hop
game?
into this
Let's make
battle. Here's
both,
what
or
we didn't
let's
get to
make a
see
bet.
at the start of the last
I'm gonna have to go with Acorn.
Pants doing fast,
Acorn?
jumping with Knifer and Snacky. They're
Yes,
capturing their
sir.
revenge. Yes,
And even though I don't
they were on
think
the
it's
losing
gonna be
side.
Acorn, I
would say
think it's gonna be
more
one of
time
those like small
against
little
S3
nobodies
here.
that nobody really pays
Now,
attention to.
They have a much better loadout, better
I
But,
think
I don't know.
Booga.
land here, more control.
No,
Now we get
no,
to
no, no,
continue
no.
on with
It's
Siren
gonna be.
Defiable. This is about as long
I'm
as it's
thinking.
lasted as far as the two being alive. And Batch doesn't find anything. He's actually forced to run out. Tactical
I'm thinking.
pistol here.
Is it
The
on?
hands of Sire makes it easy for them. They just had the advantage. They close it out.
Yep,
Let my mind
stepping up,
think.
bringing that same heat.
Swirling,
Day number 1
twirling.
back on over, and this is a little bit of a contested split drop towards the outside, just under the Lonely Labs area.
I don't know, bro.
Broken's gonna get
I
a
wanna say Batman,
flapjack.
Booga,
Penta's trying to help
and
his
Rapid.
teammate, but he's distracted. Get tagged up to the
Interesting.
side. Teeks falls. That is a 2v1
That's my number one.
that he just got
And if it's
taken
not them,
down
it's
with.
Booga
And the tables
and
have turned.
Threats.
We saw Virgo and Broken go down in game
Booga.
7. Now they're standing
And then
tall
my
here in
third
game 8.
is Cold and
Mac would
Acorn.
also there,
That's my top 3
finding
for winning this
himself,
game.
I would say, one of his first rotations of
I
the
think
weekend.
Kanata
Pretty
needs
tough
you
for
to
him
get a 6th
to go ahead
place
and get
here.
it done.
Kanata
Does have a shot to do it. Let's jump in
definitely
with
is up
Kanata and
there.
Agers right
I feel
now.
like it's gonna
Our
be at
first
least
place
top 5.
Boogie and Threats have officially closed that gap.
top 5. I'm
Closer
just gonna
to
put
it.
it
I don't know, they
on
just had a bad game.
Outperforming them,
They had bad
picking
placement.
up and continuing the pace from game 5.
I guess that's what happens when you
Now
get
into
stuck in a
7.
building that you don't want to be on.
Zeke was mentioning this might be
Yeah.
a warm-up game, but this is far from it for Booga and Threats right now.
I think
Yeah, there's no
4th
such
is gonna
thing
be
as a
Bachman
warm-up game when you're
Bars.
in
We're doing
day
crazy.
2 of the FNCS Grand Finals.
Yeah.
And for Booga and Threats, a little bit different from last game. This time around, the zone is going to pull just a little bit towards the north, but not too much to switch things up, as Steamy Springs is still in their lines of sight. And that's where you'll be seeing G-Money going up against Day and Nawson game after game. And that's where they've been getting their early game surge from. So if they want to continue that same game plan, they need to hurry up this early game looting.
Well, here we have it, jumping in with Paper and Muzz. Liking what we're watching. They have this northern position here, the outskirts, of course. Playing slow and steady. The first time this duo has started to compete with one another, which is cool to see them find success here, finding their footing. What do we think?
They're dying
I think
32nd
they definitely have what it
place.
takes, because I saw
Really?
the feed
Yeah.
to start the game off. I don't know if it was Paper or Muzz. I think
Day
it was
and
Paper that
Nawson.
at least got knocked by
Um,
Caskers.
I think it's gonna be
Bully
another
and
off-spawn death for
G-Money,
them.
you see they're
not
taking the
gonna
fight
lie.
all the way to them. Instead of just looting
I
up
don't know
Steamy
why,
Springs,
but
they want to make sure they take down
just feels like it's gonna be
Day and
another off-spawn
Nawson
death for them.
first. That's when they can try to
they're gonna
backtrack
snuck
and
up
try
on
to
right
loot
now,
up.
but Bully
They have to
and
be
G-Money,
careful, because
so-
Booga and Threats are rotating in
G-Money's
that
gonna
direction
get,
as well.
yeah, G-Money's gonna
Bully's
pull a
just
3-1
trying to
here.
make this sneaky play.
Bully's
He
gonna die.
heard Day. He
Day
knows he went
after
down
he
there, and
gets
this is
cracked
where
by
he's going to
Nawson.
spot out Nawson, but they're fully boxed up.
Yeah.
So they must have some sort of intuition.
Yeah, they must have heard Bully, caught the visual sound effect or something, because if you just saw the way Bully snuck up, you could, first of all, you could tell he's a controller player. Like, he was able to slow his momentum down. He was like in a full walking sprint, completely slows down. They're not too sure. They're certain, but there's always that little doubt in the back of your mind, and there it is. Big 91 tag opener. Not quite enough for them to want to fully give up their advantageous position here. Also considering you have to think about where is Booga and Threats if they haven't quite collided against them yet.
Might have been there. I just saw G-Money get just tagged up. Shield and
G-Money
HP
gets cracked,
disappearing.
I think.
Not only got to worry about Booga and Threats, This is just along the lines of where Acorn and Cold begin to wander around if they don't just continue with their normal loop path every single game. And even though Bully and G-Money did have some early shots, it's that flank, it's behind them they have to watch out for, because that's where a lot of that damage is coming from. Day and Austin are using that as a little bit of a blessing in disguise. They don't really want to fight this. They're just trying to disengage. But as they're running away, they're slowly but surely running into the way of Acorn and Cold.
And it's Hound and Aiden there as well.
Ooh.
Pursuing quickly down south as they see that team disengaging first.
It's business as usual for Baka and Pars, especially now that they have the north side of the map zone pulling in that direction. Gives them just a little bit more time to loot up. And you can see how wide their split drop is, commanding so much respect. And this is literally what you were just
That's
kind
a
of
ballsy
prefacing.
move for
Aiden
Aiden.
hiding behind the tree, just
There's
waiting. And this will be the
anyone
second
behind him who's
time
dying
Day
instantly.
and Nasen possibly get stuck up on.
How many times do you get opened on before you start to recognize, hey, we don't have enough heals to like survive the rest of this game out? This is the second time now. Big team opens on them. The disadvantage falls into their hands. And Aiden and Hound have everything right now. And they already had a successful, I would say, kickoff to Game 7. They found early eliminations all the way through the course of the early game, so.
Yeah, Aiden and Hound aren't letting this one go either, as another shot's getting landed. It's not much, but he's slowly but surely trying to whittle them down, forcing them to get into the same box again. We talked about those heals. They're being forced to expend even more as Nasen continues to take shots. The two different angles coming out from Aiden and Hound are finding some success, but they need to figure out how they're going to finish this one off, because even though the longer this one takes, I usually say that third party, you see it in the mini-map towards the right, but the zone is pulling towards the north, so they're going to have a hard time to rotate as Aiden finally gets the first knock onto Nasen, making
What did
their
I
job
say?
easier.
I said
'cause
Nasen
that
was
puts
gonna get
Day
knocked
in a
first.
1v2 situation,
Day's
and they
gonna
even
die
drop
soon.
down. Day's doing a lot of damage, but his run comes to an end, and Aiden and Hound back-to-back starts to their game, and it's paying off.
Yeah, already. You have to put yourself in the mind of Day and Austin there. They made adjustments. They've like stopped fighting in the main city, tried to rotate sooner, but Bully and G-Money are just not letting it go.
And they said that. And Day and Austin was like, you guys go ahead, go that way. We'll go this way towards the hill. And they said, no.
Yeah.
We want all of the loot. And he said, I want to make sure you heard me right. We want all of the loot. And they're fighting for it every single game we've seen. Doesn't matter if Booga and Threats, Aiden and Hound begin to third party. They know that's their loot.
It is kind of interesting, like not every team is willing to do a split drop, be somewhat cordial on the position and try a different strategy. Bully is one of those players that we've seen since way back in the Steamy Stacks day. He'll take the fight tooth and nail all the way through to the end. He doesn't care.
I see how he got his name, at least.
Hey, he's there, man. He's willing to put it up, so. You know, but let's jump in with Bryson Chubbs, a team that really does have a chance here to come inside the top 10 to push for the big cash prizing, the big opportunities that are on the horizon, of course. They started, I would say, yesterday off phenomenally, well within the top 5 before things started to slow down for them. But all in all, very much a competing team today.
Yeah, just try to average inside of that top 10. And that's mainly to be safe, because we have a couple of those teams that already got their global championship spot inside of that top 10, so that will trickle down. As Caskers and Revives, once again, not moving too far from where Muzz and Paper at. They got the knock at least once so far. Paper doesn't seem to be in sight. There's an opportunity for them to take the 2v1. Paper's slow to rotate. The longer time they give Muzz, the more that third party is going to come in, and Paper is actually down. So that's just 2 solo players rotating into this fight, which is going to be a really interesting one for Caskers and Revives.
I said Muzz and Paper were going to die 31st, so
he's just disgusting. He's one of the fastest editors and most accurate players we've ever seen. So mechanics, Muzz has got it.
Has a little bit of everything. He's trying to become a little bit of a trio region champ. Talked about OCE, talked about NA East, now the combined region of NA overall. He could be the first to create history. Just needs a monster of a day, which they already shown is possible with that Game 7 victory royale. But everybody here on day 2 picking up the pace, and that includes Yamzo and Rise finally playing consistently into their reputation of how the season has went so far.
Rise is also the only player this weekend that has picked up at least a single elimination in all 7 games that we've watched play out. A very impressive stat nonetheless between Rise and Yamzo. Very much a reason why they're inside that top 5 right now. Reet and Ritual also gearing up to be a top 10 team. Currently in a battle. Last game they fell a lot earlier than we would have expected them, being that they were finding the momentum in the back half of those 6 games yesterday. But here we are, another early game battle.
This is 2 players, particularly just Reet and Vanillas, that have fought each other over and over and over, from actual FNCS games to their 3v3s they play on their spare time. So they have so much familiarity of how they want to fight, and particularly Vanillas and Convict. I had high hopes for this team coming into the FNCS. They haven't yet played up to their potential, but anything is possible here on day 2. They still have a shot to inch themselves into that top 10 bubble and go to that global championship. But Reet and Ritual, they're fighting for that same thing.
Nice little haymaker of a loadout right there as it starts to come together. Tough place to play off of here. The ice
Drop piece and
made a little,
God
little
did.
difficult to move around.
God
As you can
Storm
see,
Surge
everyone's
game.
slipping and sliding. Still have a ways to go. Jylix there in front of them. They're probably wondering, like, hey boys, what's going on here?
It's almost like they're getting ready to play like a game of hockey, slipping, sliding, trying to score a goal by taking down your opponent. Jylix and Zeus. And then another team trying to have a great day. They land over towards that northeast around that Lonely Labs, but not exactly in that POI. That's usually where they begin to third party. As we quickly jump into another fight, Mud Hut Boy and Chris. They've had a few shines of greatness yesterday throughout the day. They've proven they have what it takes to be here in this lobby. It's about executing and pulling everything together to get those points. You can even see they have 1 elimination so far, and they're not getting greedy. That's the most important thing. Get your surge, get your eliminations, and begin to rotate to zone, because we know how congested some of these sides can get.
Threats finds an elimination in the feeder. The more I see Threats and Booga accumulate early game points, the more interested I am in finding out what Kanata and Agers are doing.
Yeah.
Of course, outside of all the battles and the action that's unfolding on screen, mostly because we are slowly seeing a comeback happen right now. It's impressive when a team has a 90-point lead to start the day. It's more impressive when other teams give you a run for your money and start to climb their way back on a 2-day format. Rapid and Batman Booga fighting inside the storm line right now. They have
I don't know, bro. I don't think
a little
Aegis
means
and
to
Kanata are
rotate here
winning this.
using
I'm
the
not gonna
mud.
lie.
It's going to give them that super fast mobility. Great
Yeah, I don't
exit
know
for
if
Rapid.
anybody's
Double
game
back
God,
on the
my
left
dude.
side. I like this play here.
It's bob and weave, bob and weave.
Yeah.
Don't let them hit you. That is a great play. Only thing that is a little bit
that's onto
troublesome.
Bila and N-Pen. Okay. I don't like it as much anymore. I really am. I really am trying to see my boy N-Pen do it this weekend.
They're one of the teams I feel like if they know you're kind of isolated away from everybody else and you begin to tag at them and they know they could probably get that fight off, they may try and fight you. So it's almost like playing with your food here. You don't want them both to turn around and try to attack, but Batman Booga and Rapid, ever since they formed as a duo, they've been one of those teams that usually find consistent top 10 performances, even squeaking themselves into top 5. So they've shown the blueprint throughout a couple of weeks so far. Just like everybody else, though, it's all about execution.
I did
just
say
like that Source.
Rapid and Batman
Yumi
Booga
going
were
against
first
Reet and
this
Ritual.
game.
Reet and Ritual, no strangers to this fight.
Yeah, they keep coming to the island. They've actually been one of the
Yeah.
few teams consistently battling for it round after round. Now we have seen the exchanges happen on both sides. Yesterday, Abib was the player that came out on top as Reet gave a valiant effort in the exchange and the fight off here. But Ritual is, of course, going to be the one that's going to try to lead the charge here.
Yeah, they're taking real estate. They're taking space that Yumi and Source once just had. They know how important it is to just have so much room to work with. You already see Redux and Stacky
4
sneaking in the
teams
distance.
on the island
Rifts
right now.
going off. They're tagging some shots into the sky. They're forcing that team away from that Rift Island. They don't want any more people joining this party. They don't have enough cake for everybody.
Well, here's the thing. We've seen Reet and Ritual here many times now this weekend, but the real question is, how many times did they successfully secure the island and get the points?
I pointed out on my Booga and Threats. Again, they find a pair of eliminations this time around.
Oh, man.
Instead of just one each. Heating up, that's what we talked about already. It was in the last 2 games on the day for both of them. Game 6 for Booga particularly, those solo points, and that's how you build that confidence and you carry the momentum from one day to the next. Cooper's trying to do the same thing, but he's forced to do it by himself. Which honestly, we've seen Cooper go off, especially in that last major where they earned their global championship spot. Not only is he one of those players that can get eliminations, but he's one of those players that IGLs and controls the tempo of the game.
Time to move now, though. Oh, he's going wide on the rotate here. What's happening here? Okay, is he going to go back into the zone now to get Miro's card and potentially reboot? Possibly. Meanwhile, Rise is also inside the storm line here. Buying time. Possibly thinking, hey, give me the rift. Let me go ahead and play off the reboot here for Iamzo.
I can maybe see him because of those heals. If he already has Yamzo's card.
Look at everyone else, though. Like, what's happening here?
They're probably waiting towards Rift Island to scavenge the loot or get their teammate back. At least that's what I think Rise is.
Those are all duos. That's Re and Ritual. That's the team they were fighting, and Yumi. Like, everyone's just still here.
Yeah, they're trying to get that leftover loot that Re and Ritual didn't grab. Rise landing some good shots onto Zeus. And Rise is kind of stuck in a position. If he wants to get Yamzo back, he has to wait here. If he wants to rotate, then he's kind of admitting I'm playing this one out as a solo.
Down player in the box nearby, little does he know. It's actually Zeus, so he found the tag, Zone did the rest, gets the other player while he's rezzing, and Jylix ripped apart for a moment there, but so does Rise. Rise now fully punished. Yes, I was gonna say he will absolutely have to pop the slurp juice here. This is still a single tick zone though, so he does have a lot of time to work with. Zeus recognizing now, dude, I don't have the heals. I might have to start running on foot.
I think you should
I
go
don't
back
think
for
Rise
that,
has that luxury anymore.
Rise
to
might
go up the
still
island.
get the credit though. There's a chance.
All right, so Rise just kind of giving up on that one, knowing
Does get the credit.
I probably can't get Yamzo back. He does get the credit for both of those eliminations. So he's doing a good job, but just like we seen him yesterday, he has to be able to make that impact as a solo now that his teammate is gone. But we're seeing not just him, but a few players in that same position. There's actually 5 solo players running around the lobby right now, and Cooper's one of them.
Yep, he might have thought, hey, maybe I could play for this island here, but there was a little too much action happening there. And they make a move out. Talk about Booga and Threats. Very, very damaged right now. Threats gets dropped there on the rotate. Unfortunately, faces the wrath of the server. He's stuck in a difficult position. Booga can't do anything either here. The zone's just doing too much. It's super unfortunate.
You heard that? That was Kanata just screaming yes as Booga just went down because they were hot on those heals throughout the last 2 games of yesterday where Kanata Agers had performed the least best of their day. Booga and Threats performing the best. So this is a chance for them to regain that lead that they just once had. And it's still 12 teams that need to go down before those placement points get in. So I'm not saying by any means it's going to be an easy day for Kanata Agers.
Yeah, this is tough right now. A lot of players have to still move north, but no reason to move until you absolutely have to. Folks just trying to wait it out, chill out for a second, allow the zone to really force the hands of the majority of the lobby first.
Chubbs and Bryce rotating. Got to be careful though. As they continue to fall, there is going to be teams below them. Somebody even opened up a vault for a little bit of extra loot. Great decision, because if that were wrong, they definitely would have rifted through the sky. So that gives them at least a couple more seconds to work with. And Chubbs, Bryce, they don't have that same second. They're barely getting above the damage threshold, but it's just 1. That's not a feeling of comfortability. So he's continuing looking towards the backside of the zone and finds a huge shot on the D-roller as the confidence begins to build.
They're still waiting here in the storm line. Remember, this is going to start to pick up. There it is. They do just have enough room to work with, so arguably in the best spot to be in. Yumi and Source, however, off the Rift Island, find themselves a piece of high ground. They seemingly have the lay of the land here. They can run the lobby in any which way they want. Rise and Yamzo fragmented here. Just Rise now to operate this team. So far, so good for him, but it has cost him a lot. We already saw him go through the slurp juice. We saw him make that late zone move, and you're now having to use the slap juice to stay alive here.
This is why it's important. They started on 323. Total points coming into this game. Rise is doing what he can, and now he has that Maven as well, so he's gaining a speed boost. Continues the toe tag Batman Booga, but Rapid is there. Quick change in elevation coming out from Rise. Super, super impactful play here to try to keep himself alive as a solo.
I like it. It was very, very close. Batman Booga almost caught behind. It's hard to know when someone's chasing you down and they're in mud. Like, you're just thinking to yourself, like, dude, how?
Especially when you kind of jump, you look back, they're maybe 100 meters away, but because of the mud, when next time you look back, they're like right on your heels. And then the way he had that heisted Maven, so every time he hits a shot, he gains even more of a speed boost. So definitely thinking outside of the box, utilizing every single portion of the game as Sphinx and Poyo. They're towards that top side of the leaderboard as well. Booga and Threats going down, that gives them a chance to overtake and move up the leaderboard. But this is what you also said, that these are the teams that you want to overtake you in that top 10. Players who have already qualified.
That's right. Rise 3 HP, what can he do? These teams are a single headshot away from potentially being a refresh for him, so there is opportunity here. Oh no, not the zone. Not like this. Oh, moves a little too late and falls there.
Setting up for Kanata and Agers to have a great game as they take an elimination onto Smite. Baka and Pars as well. A lot of those players that were once positioned in front of them are going down, so that makes their job that much easier to try to move up the leaderboard. And you can see they have some elevation already. They don't have too far to rotate before they are in the zone. And if you kind of look at that mini-map, more than half of the lobby has to go up that cliff and find some elevation. So their rotation is also going to be easier than everybody else's.
Yeah, Reet and Ritual already taking a moment to make the early rotate here. He is ahead of the game here. Kanata and Agers just playing seemingly perfect right now. Great loadout, great positioning, no pressure from the surge at the moment. And just all in all, it's coming together. Not only that, we have a moment of them picking up the elimination just a couple seconds ago onto the hands of Smite.
Take note. Take note. Look at his inventory right now. You see he has the Mammoth, right? As the game gets on, he's getting closer and closer towards that end game. Well, I saw it. He switched it at the end. He picked up that compact SMG. He realized the impact of an SMG Havoc combo and trying to put it to use. In the feed, Agers picking up one. Cooper is barely surviving here with so many players all around. If they know he's a solo, you know as well as I do, that's like a green light to go.
Tough situation for Reet, though. He falls in the feed there. Although he was one of the first to rotate, must have been collapsed on by a desperate counter player. Here's Peterbot in the storm. Cooper takes the fight, and the 1-2 drops him. Now 3 eliminations. Cooper showing that he can also play and pick up the solo impact points here. Back to Kanata and Agers, though. Front side rotates. Again, so smooth. They just seem to have found their zone.
When you see how Kanata is just firing those shots with a heavy breacher, he's forcing people to play defensive while he rotates, which minimizes the amount of people that actually can take shots on him. If you look now, there's a couple teams that have a little bit of a claim from high ground. Aiden and Hound are going to be one of them towards the front side of zone, but how they play this is going to be important. It's really going to factor if they're able to hold it or not, because you know as well as I do, there are some teams in this lobby that like to look towards the sky and begin to kind of formulate their own plan if it's able to be contested or not, as Cooper goes down to Aviv.
It's about the latest we've seen. Also, Macwood and
Aviv is actually like crazy. So I can't even lie.
See what they can do here. So they got the first 6. The Baka gets rolled up on. Pars has to turn around. Shots come through the build, and he's gone.
Not as good as me, though.
With the wind here. Now time to pop the slurp juice. A little earlier than he would have liked. Siphon seems to have given them a little bit of a cushion as well. But no, more shots come in. Has to play once again defensively, burning through what's left of his material, but it's a team hot on his heels. He gets shot from every which angle.
Kanata and Agers, they're still picking up elimination.
Up to 3 elims now.
Yep, last and long as well. I even see Epic well picking up the pace, trying to have a much better day. Historically, a day 2 team as well. As Kanata just bull rushing towards the front side of the zone, going for height as well. He knows this one's pulling towards a little bit of elevation. He's trying to prepare for it. That way, he doesn't have to make a mad dash towards the end. Hound and Aiden, we knew they had high ground, but this is where the contest is going to come in. One comes tumbling down. Kanata trying to go for the back-to-back, using all of his resources, and they've taken taken it. Kanata and Agers are once again the kings of the high ground.
Kanata's just literally flexing right now.
They literally,
Legitimately has nothing to lose at this point. He has such a lead over the lobby. He takes matters into his own hands. Solos high ground by himself with a breacher in hand. Just nuts. On low ground, Chubbs, Bryce barely doing enough to get up and over. They don't have material either. They have to fight for it.
Wow.
Caught in the trap, though. 4 players have been eliminated. Make that 5, and they're still standing
Top
here.
4 looking right now.
They get a little bit of credit for the view.
2v2.
That was chaotic. The entire lobby chopped down in half. Meanwhile,
Aegis and
Kanata
Kanata with
Agers
the
have
win
a
here.
roadway, a pathway.
I told you, man. I told you.
Here, and it's looking like clear skies here, Jacob.
Yeah, it's definitely there.
If they get this win, you know how big this is going to be for them?
This is pretty much like almost like
They
guaranteeing.
earned it as well. We saw them not
Pretty
only
much.
fight, but take down Aiden and Hound and steal away the high ground. I called them the kings, and they are the kings for the reason.
Big plays here. Agers and Kanata might
This
have
will
solidified
definitely put them
the
untouchable.
massive lead.
This
Let's
is
not
like in
forget
definite
the
top
other
5
moment
for
that
an
occurred in this
FNCS
game,
final.
equally as
Like,
important
one's
was
over.
the falling
stop
of their
playing now.
second place players on their heels. I'm not going to name them. We're just going to give all the credits to Agers and Kanata right now because they deserve it, and they've officially jumped way ahead of the competition.
Yeah, right now it's just looking like a race for second place, but there's only 2 games done on the day. There's 4 more, which is plenty of time to climb up that leaderboard, but let's go ahead and take a look where everybody stands.
Who won?
Agers and Kanata firing right back after that last game. After once again, the little blunder saying, look, our bad, we made a little bit of mistakes. Nope. Game number 8, they crack back. They say, look, why did you hesitate? Why did
told you they
get
were
there?
gonna
We
fucking
ended game
win.
1 in that top spot.
There they are, Kanata and
Almost
Agers with
500
possibly
points.
The biggest refresh we have seen so far. It was during 7th zone. I think, Kanata was chilling around 65 builds. They got that refresh that boosted them up to like 120 plus. But it wasn't just the match. Jacob mentioned it. He was able to swap around his loadout a little bit, picked up a mythic flapjack, and then an SMG as well. The fact that they had the most materials in the lobby during A zone, they started to apply that pressure on the high ground. And MDF mentioned it like, Kanata, how are you just going to go ahead and use all your mats to go ahead and solo take high ground? Well, it's because that natural elevation that they were fighting for, they didn't need any mats if they went ahead and got that.
Yeah, that's great recognition ahead of time, knowing where zone's gonna pull and not leaving it to, I need to climb after I get buried and fight through this. They got front side, put themselves in a position, and it's that 8th zone where you were like, how are they just running out in the open through 8th zone? No one touched them. They were basically max mats, put themselves front side, recognize the elevation change, and then ultimately that's why they're able to win the game.
Perfect game out of them. I think it was like 5th, 6th zone. We ended up tuning in them. They had no eliminations yet. They were like 600 above. Storm surges there. Rotations are there.
Why does
Awareness
women
is
look
there.
like that?
We're looking good.
Masterfully executed from the duo.
I don't even know.
Let's take a look at that standings. What is the lead now? Okay. Oh, God.
Oh.
Wait.
All right. Vivid, I can't do math. Is that
Dude,
189
literally, if
points?
they win one more time,
Thank
it's
you, man.
GG's.
Dude, I'm learning. Anyway, one went from a 90-point lead.
Where'd the Buka go?
Game 1,
He's
dropped
in
that
third
down to
place.
60. Game number 2 said, let's just double that. Let's just make that the lead.
150 points. I mean, they got
That's
to be feeling
crazy.
comfortable. But shout out to Cooper and Miro for that game. I mean, Zeke was like ecstatic while we were watching. He's like watching these arrows that are going on the map, and he's like,
I
Blue
gotta go
is
back.
all the way over at Slappy while the zone's at like Breakwater Bay. Cooper and Miro, great play out of them. Specifically, Cooper clutching it up.
Oh yeah, went back trying to get the reboot, but ultimately it's just like, dude, I tried. Like, I tried to get you back in the game. It didn't work. Nonetheless, I mean, that is the classic Bugha Miro play style back when they played the solo clutch after solo clutch. Cooper filling that role perfectly. Not yet on the level of a Bugha, but I mean, my man, you're showing yourself to be one of the top players on this region.
If we could flip the conversation here from a lot of positives to maybe some questionable negatives, we have to look at Bugha and Threads. For a moment there, these guys were stacked. So well above Storm Surge, had mats, had materials, had resources, had everything, and then decided, let's push Citadel when maybe they should have gone for that dead side.
Listen, they had, I mean, I love the shot out of Bugha and Threads. I was talking it up while we were watching the game. The fact that they're, so willing to stay in the storm. They were getting eliminations based on their position. you know, the storm surge has been coming in, like you mentioned, the materials are looking really, really good. And 1,000 above was number count, so I was like, they're gonna go just straight dead side. Then they started rotating towards Settle Down. I was like, whoa, where are you going? There's a bunch of teams built up right there. Getting a lot of pressure coming in, and I'm going down on that rotate.
Yeah, we have the luxury though of like seeing everyone in the
Hindsight,
lobby,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They have to do what they think is best based on what they can see. Adjustments. Talked about it, what they did yesterday. They made adjustments. I liked what I saw just at one point. Going a little too straight into zone, and hey, if you know, maybe get Vivid. A little Vivid masterclass, be like, go dead side, find yourself in zone, you're chilling.
Yeah, and again, we're just trying to be critical here, right? This is the competition right before the Global Championships. So again, though we have maybe more information, we can see a little more than the players can. It's not like we're trying to flame them. We're just saying, hey, look, like this one at the top of the show, if they make a mistake, that next game, it's fixed. So I'm excited to see how they adjust going in. But as we turn attention back to the standings, I want to highlight the duel in
My
first place.
eyes!
Moving up
Oh, I
four
can't see anything.
places, it's Chubbs here and Brian managing to have a great game. Now, they are trying to solidify themselves.
Alright, boys. That's 2 games right there. That's gonna be it for the stream today. Hope you guys enjoyed the FNCS watch party. If you did, yeah. Thank you guys. See you later.